Criminals can make a lot of money if they can catch her. FBI Special Agent Megan Luchek has twice escaped the club's clutches, but her luck may be running out. There's a price on her head. They want her alive, but nobody specifying how alive. Megan has powerful friends, but her biggest supporters have their own deadly issues to deal with. Can she survive being the primary target of the criminal contest? The Criminal Contest, Cyber League Crimes, Book 3. Written by Julie C. Gilbert. Narrated by Liz Brand. Hello, and welcome to the last book review in mini-March of 2022. I'm going to try to do a mini-March every year, so hopefully I'll have more of these next year. If there are writers out there that would like me to review books, if you have short stories, feel free to reach out to me. If you are a writer and you want a book that you've done reviewed on this channel, just reach out to me anytime. But let's save short stories for next mini-March, if possible. Not to say I won't do other short stories other times, but let's just aim for that for now. So, today I'm looking at The Criminal Contest, the third and final book in this little trilogy of a larger series. So the way I understand this is that there is this whole series that follows this FBI agent, Megan Luchek, and these three books have been just one segment of her career as an FBI agent. Now, I'm going to start adding in and doing something from this point on, and this section will be a spoiler-free review. But after I get past the opening section, I'll probably be getting into spoilers, so I will end each of these sections by saying, if you want to check out this book for yourself, please do so before continuing with the review. And that'll be your moment to know to stop the video, go check out the book, then come back and see if you agree or disagree with the points I make moving forward into spoilers. So, what did I overall think of this book? Well, since I'm not giving it the final score yet, I enjoyed it. It was a nice, quick listen. I got through it in just a few hours. You know, for me, one shift. And this took a little over one shift. I work 4-hour shifts. I don't drive the entire 4 hours. If I had, I probably would have made it through the entire book in one shift. But I actually had to split this one up into two. But I did enjoy it. It was enjoyable. All three of these have been enjoyable. Despite my criticisms, despite my scores, I did ultimately enjoy all three of these books. And then I stand by my criticisms from the previous two. And I honestly have to say, you know, it was a nice change of pace compared to what I'm normally getting to read, which is usually a lot of fantasy. But the fantasy I often tend to get is, you know, old-timey fantasy like Lord of the Rings and stuff. I don't get much in the lines of like my book series, The Guardian of Light, which is a more modern day. So, if you are interested in formulating your own opinion, please do check this out for yourself. It's available on Amazon and Audible. And with that said, let's move on to the review. So, starting with the cover and title, I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm going to give this 5 stars right off the bat. I have the same criticism about this as I did in the previous 2 books. Nothing changed, so, I mean, for what it is, it's fine. But, I mean, it's exactly the same layout as the previous 2 covers, just a different color. The title also is fine. It definitely fits the theme of these 3 books, so there's really nothing much to say here. Now moving on to the writing. And for the writing, I'm going to have to give this 4 stars. I was really debating where I was going to talk about this, and I think writing is the spot to put this. There were certain things I felt that the author just, I don't know if she was uncomfortable with, but there were some unanswered questions. I think a bit of more research needed to be done. There were characters doing things that, and the way they did them just didn't seem very realistic. Like, you got these 2 characters in a house, and one has a tracker inside of them, or a device inside their neck, and neither one of these people have any medical experience. And the tool they use to cut the neck open to get this device out is a pocket knife. Now, I don't know why she would select to use a pocket knife. Generally, I'm not saying this is true of all pocket knives, but generally, a pocket knife is going to be a little bit more on the dull side. Since they were in a house, I'm sure the house had actual steak knives or sharper knives inside the house. That might have been a little bit more prone to use as a surgical tool to open up the neck. And then also, too, they basically just slap basically a band-aid on it. I mean, they use like gauze and tape to cover up this wound. No stitching, no nothing. Again, they're in a house. There is probably needle and thread. I think at one point somebody says, they need needle and thread beforehand, and it's like, you're not even going to stitch it up, glue it together, like, some people do. I've seen some people who cut their hands real deep, and they use, like, super glue to glue the skin together until they can get to the hospital. I'm just saying, a little bit more research. So, could have helped with this section. And that's why I gave this 4 stars. The unanswered questions and the things that just didn't quite seem like they were completely there. Don't get me wrong. Every author, we make these mistakes. We feel a certain way about our stories, and we might jump to conclusions that may not reflect on real world. But sometimes, you got to do the best you can. And I think for this story, a little bit more preparation, a little bit more cleanup, especially like with the example I gave, would have been better. Now moving into the narration, I'm going to give the narration 5 stars. Once again, Liz Brand did a really good job bringing these characters to life. I had zero trouble believing any of these characters. So, since this might be the last time I might hear the narrator Liz Brand for a while, I just want to say congratulations on doing a really good job. You've earned all these 5 points without issue. So now moving on to the story. Now, in my previous video, 2 videos, well, in my previous one especially, I mentioned the fact that there were no stakes. Because, why? Well, nobody was dying. It was too easy. And that kind of falls in line with this story too. You get 2 people that die, but the 2 people that die are bad guys, and they're not even like the main bad guy. The main bad guy gets away, so it's like, and one of the 2 bad guys that dies, is only revealed to be a bad guy towards the last 1/3 of this story. And it's like, oh yeah, we talk about how we ran into him before, but nobody knew it was him because it was just some random Joe Blow. And it's like, well, he's not much of a presence then, he's not much of a threat. So, I don't know. I mean, yes, there was some death, but it was on the side of the villains. And, I mean, that's very Disney cartoon-like. I mean, even in Disney cartoons, the villains die. But if you're going for a serious drama, a serious police drama, well, then there should have been more. It would have been nice to have actual deaths to make the characters, really think about the tough situation they're in. I mean, it's like having a war, but not having anybody die, not losing any of your main characters, except maybe the bad guy on the opposite team, And that just feels a little disgenuine to real life. And it doesn't make the stakes really that high. Not for the hero. It makes the stakes high for the villains, but the villains knew that the stakes were high going in. So, now moving on to the characters. And for the characters, I have to give it another 5 stars. I mean, the characters were right on the level of where they were. It would have been nice to see a little bit more closure, a little bit more, reveal. Honestly, though, it was explained to me, or at least I thought I understood, that this series follows the Special Agent, FBI agent, whatever, Megan. And honestly, this doesn't even seem like it's a series about her at all. Like, yeah, she was the main person in these 3 books, but I feel like it's more about the assassin that keeps randomly helping her out. She is the much more interesting character. She is the one I'd much rather be following. If I was reading all of these books from beginning to end, I'd be more interested in her character and what she brings to the table rather than this FBI agent who just magically has everybody in place to help her survive everything and bring down all these bad guys with no trouble at all. So that's the scores. Let's move on to final verdict. And for the final verdict, or final score, I'm going to have to give this an 8 out of 10. I did it, like I said, I enjoyed all these books. They were nice, quick, short stories. I do wish there was more to them. I wish that there was some better development, better stakes, for something where you have law enforcement involved. Like, that's what you need. Nobody is going to stay invested in a long running series without the stakes being high. And just being kidnapped, drugged, roughed up a little bit is not enough to keep the stakes high enough. You have to lose people. You have to lose characters. It's tough. I understand that. As a writer myself, I know that that can be one of the most difficult things some people can do. But, you do it, as Dumbledore says, for the greater good. Dumbledore died for the greater good of the Harry Potter franchise. So, writers, this is a really good example of something to keep in mind. I'm probably going to be doing a video in the very near future giving you tips, tricks, and explanation as to why characters should die. And I'll probably be referring back to these reviews to make some of that my point. So stay tuned for that. Now, when I finish a series off, I like to rank the series. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. And coming in at number 3 is going to be Book 2, The Hero Contest. It really bothers me. The most thing that bothered me about that put it at the bottom, is, like I said, immediately following the events of Book 1, I feel like they all would have been brought in to the FBI for debriefing and questioning. And some of those people would not have been around for any sort of sequel book or anything. Coming in at number 2 is going to have to be The Criminal Contest. I feel like things wrapped up too neatly, too easily. And by this point, I wasn't really invested in the FBI agent. I was more invested in the assassin. Hell, I was more invested in the rich guy who made the technology that everybody was using. I didn't really care about the story of the FBI agent anymore. I knew she was going to be fine. I knew she was going to make it out. I knew her sister was going to be safe. Her family was going to be safe. There was nothing to worry about. I wanted to know about the assassin. I wanted to know about the rich guy. Was he going to, hook up with that other female assassin that was bodyguarding him? Because it felt like they had a fling or, something going on. And she was developing feelings for him. That's the story I really wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to know more about. Which is kind of bad when your main character isn't the focus of what you're trying to tell. So, At number 1 is Book 1, the popularity contest. This had a really good start. It ended a little quicker than I would have thought, but I did really like how it began, and it was perfect for our first book in a trilogy like this. I wish the stakes had gotten a little bit higher or things had gone a little bit differently to make things a little bit better moving forward, but yeah. So this has been my ranking and review of The Criminal Contest, Cyber League's Crimes, Book 3, written by Julie C. Gilbert, narrated by Liz Brand. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Before I go, I just want to say, please do consider checking out these books if you want, and if you agree, great. If you disagree, tell me why you disagree in the comments below. Tell me why I'm wrong in the comments below. So, again, I want to thank you for watching. If you have not, please consider subscribing. Make sure to click that notification bell. I want to thank you, and I'll catch you in the next review. Bye.